Wait, what? All right, we're back. We're back for episode 7 of Hacking with the Homies podcast. I was about to say conference. We're not there yet. We got
No,
a
not
little
not
bit
there yet.
more. We got a little bit of time yet, but this is going to be episode 7. This
Mhm.
episode we're calling Tech Life Balance. So we myself and Mac, we were talking about this maybe a month or two ago, but we knew we wanted to cover this at some point. So today we really want to talk about what is it like when it comes to teching with a family, getting everything done, and the challenges that we face. So we want to talk kids at conferences, juggling multiple responsibilities, and not only taking care of our families, but taking care of ourselves. So yeah, I think we have two varying perspectives, but both kind of we have to do all the things, right? So um this is a little bit different, but also just super relevant to us just kind of living in this life outside of the code.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, me and Jessica work a lot on different stuff, and I think it was last night where we were at the Detroit Hacker House and doing the open house and talking through that. And I think we were both looked at each other. We didn't really say it verbally, but man, this is about to get busy. So how do we manage our life? Because my son, I was surprised that her son wasn't there with us. My son was there, running around crazy. So I think this episode is right on time, right? Just with everything that's going on.
Yeah, he told me all about Woody Woodpecker. I think I told you that. He was like I'm like,
Yes.
this little boy knows about Woody Woodpecker, but he was telling me about Woody Woodpecker. And yeah, so Justice wasn't there last night, but he normally is everywhere all the time. He goes to all the tech events. And the only reason he wasn't there is because I was gonna catch an Uber and then I realized I didn't have his small car seat. So that's like a whole nother thing because it's like when you have a small kid, you have to lug around stuff. So like when we did our conference this year, it was nice because we had the whole setup. We actually had extra rooms we could use for like green room space and stuff like that. So like when I had to come on site for the conference, I had to bring his jumper. I had to bring like a pack and play. I have to bring equipment just
Right.
so he could
Like
stay, he can be there all day long. But because we had enough space, it was good. And I even knew last night since we were having the hacker house open house, I already knew like, okay, well, I was planning to bring him because I knew that there was going to be room. I could probably put him in a room if he went to sleep. But yeah, I'd be lugging stuff around. So that's one of my big struggles right now. But yeah, we always have the babies.
yeah, so I guess, um I didn't know if you have certain things you wanted to chat about. I got a whole bunch, Jessica, but was there one that you wanted to start us off with?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things has been, and maybe this kind of takes some people by shock sometimes, but just the nature of us being comfortable with coming to tech conferences, coming to business events, and having kids in tow. Because I also noticed that when we did, because we work with Tech Town in Detroit as well, and when we had the demo day for Tech Town, a lot of folks actually came with their kids, whether they were the founders or the developers, or but also a lot of the people that were attending the event. And I think I've been seeing more of a trend of that lately, but not sure because some people, like what makes you comfortable? What makes you feel comfortable to do that? Have you always been doing that? Because I know you have different age groups of kids as well.
So for me, I think I didn't used to do it actually because I always thought people would you would think differently, but or be like, man, why are you bringing these kids? But I think that it's COVID has really allowed people to kind of reflect on themselves and kind of figure out a couple things. I'll just talk about myself. Um, I'm getting older
Yeah.
and I want to be able to have my kids kind of involved in my day-to-day activities and kind of know what I do. Whereas growing up, I didn't go to work with my mom or my dad. So I really didn't know exactly what they did. So I think you get a greater appreciation for your
Mhm.
parent. I think that the the kid will starting to put things together sooner. I mean, because I mean, you kind of look back and you reflect on what your parents were doing. You go, oh yeah, that's why that happened.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that my son and my daughter can kind of start putting things together sooner. But I don't bring my kids as much because my wife is usually she has a dance studio, so she's usually there's a bunch of kids at the dance studio, so they're with them. So it's not as exciting to be around a whole bunch of tech nerds than to be around a bunch of kids. So I'm getting I enjoy having him around because they get to see who he is and talk to him and he builds relationships without even really having to do much. So that's me.
Yeah. I started taking Justice to, conferences, he was about 3 months, I think, when they did, I forgot what the big event we had last year. Um Cloud Native Con and KubeCon were here.
Hmm.
But yeah, because for me, I'm like, I before I had my son, I was always traveling. Was really still I think I'm still kind of getting into my like speaking and going out and doing events and things like that. So I haven't even really kind of scratched the surface, I feel like, when it comes to that. But I also, he's still really young, so I mean, it's maybe it's a FOMO thing because I don't wanna miss I get to be with him all the time, like you said, with the pandemic and everything. Even after I was came off of, maternity leave, I was working from home, so it's like I always get to see the first. I'm always there for that. So I'm not really ready to, leave him and go to another state. So, that was a nice kind of gateway conference because it happens to be here. But then, I think it was March or April this year, I went to New Orleans, and that was like a special invite only event that I attended from Pluralsight. So it was a lot of folks that were like dev educator type of roles, and it was kind of, an event for us all to get together and network and kind of get to know each other within our community. But I just asked them off rip, like, can I bring my son? Because I'm like, I really want to attend this, but if he can't come, then I can't go. But they were really open to it as well. So that was very interesting. And I wasn't the only one there that had brought my baby, because there was another woman who was similar. She's like trying to get back into speaking, and her baby was a little
Hmm.
bit younger than Justice. But she brought a nanny with her. I brought
Okay.
my sister with me in that
Okay.
case. But Justice was like pretty much almost always with me, and whereas I felt like my sister was more of a backup just in case, there was a couple times I did a podcast while we were there and some things like that where I'm like, he can't necessarily be in the room, but for the most part, everything else, he was always there with me. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I just was like, oh, let me be very bold and brave and just like show up with my baby. But it's kind of like you said, it's a non-negotiable to miss out or to have that distance between him. I don't want work to be more important than my family time. So, yeah, I bring him pretty much to everything unless it's like super inappropriate, but that's out I do
Mhm.
that outside of work too. So, my friends already know if my baby can't come, then I'm probably not going to be there at this point in my life.
Right. And I think those are boundaries, right? I think those are there are boundaries that you're setting, and I think those boundaries um are 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 trendsetters, right? These are ways that these the way you're doing this and the way hopefully other women will be inspired as well to bring their babies along for the journey, right? Because worst case scenario, this may push organizations to start having on-site daycare, right?
And that
Uh,
was interesting because I don't know if you realize that, but at Cloud Native Con, KubeCon, when they hosted,
mhm.
they did have daycare. They
Okay,
had they had free
didn't know.
childcare. I mean, them tickets was like $1,500, so kudos to
Right.
them
Well,
because
they were able to afford it, right? So they were able to like,
but that was something
put
that
that
was
in.
completely freely available. It was just, we're still in vaccine phase at that time. So the only reason he didn't go to that childcare was because of how like he was too young to get vaccinated at that point. So that was but yeah, they had it like completely available. So basically anyone could come and I thought that was interesting because I never seen that at a conference before. I'm not sure when that's starting to creep up, but that was a
Mhm.
really big event to be like, hey, also, if you have your kids with you, yeah, you can just have childcare on site.
Yeah, no, I thought that was dope. I thought that's it's a game changer in conferences, right? I think that you know, I would love to see because I think that's a couple of things. I think I would love to see us minimize the amount of work that's needed in order for people to come. Like for you, I gotta bring this, I gotta bring that, I gotta I gotta plan these things out.
Yeah.
Um, I would be interested to know, what would that look like down the road, as in regards, what will these kids, um, what would be the impact of them, mentally, being exposed to, technology, just being around the room, not necessarily knowing. I mean, your son, he doesn't know what he's necessarily listening to. He just hears a whole bunch of people, and I hear my mommy's voice. But what would be the social components of a kid growing up
Right.
with them, kind of going along with their parent to these conferences. I mean, tech conferences is one thing, but there's a whole bunch of different disciplines where there's conferences, and I'm pretty sure it's not as trendy to bring your kid. You know,
Right. And that's because I was thinking, getting more into the business side of things, like both of us are more so not just techs, but entrepreneurs. And to me, that's very important because like you said, right now he doesn't really understand what's going on. But I love the idea that the language that we're speaking won't be foreign to him, whether it's talking about launching an event or starting a business or talking about investors and funding. Like, I don't want that to be a foreign language to him whenever it is something that, he might actually benefit from down the road. And I think that that's one of those things that, a lot of us, especially we can just talk about the Black community, like um some of us we're the first ones in our family to even come into this space, so we didn't have those conversations just kind of being had around us as some other folks that we probably work with may have been exposed to. So that's what I'm interested to see, right? Because I think even with tech, you can say a lot of people get that imposter syndrome when they start hearing about the coding terms and the jargon because it's new, they never heard it before.
right?
So, I don't know, I feel like that kind of that's what I'm very interested in seeing now, like how that doesn't how he can feel more comfortable being in certain spaces just because he was exposed to it earlier on and knowing that he belongs in the room, he has a place in the room.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would love to see what that will look like down the road. I wish we could just like start a study and be like, all right, these are all the kids. These are all the kids that went to conferences, tech conferences with their parents, and we check on them every 5 years and see. Like, oh yeah, this little kid, he started the first toddler tech startup. They're
Right.
ready. What I'm saying?
There's some little prodigies. I'm actually gonna
Yeah,
grab him really quick because he's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
tripping.
No, I'll keep us entertained.
Here, you wanna come?
So while Jessica's doing that, one of the things that we've been kind of working on is
You
it's a
coming
book.
on? You feel like
And
we
we'll
talked
tell you
about
about it in a little bit. It's been an experience for us. Hey man,
oh,
how are you?
he can't hear, but he
Oh,
knows to talk into the mic.
all right.
It's very interesting to me that he's been observing me enough that he literally knows to talk directly into the microphone, even though he doesn't know
Well,
what it does.
hey, but you know what? But those are the intrinsic things that they will pick up. They'll be like, hey, I know it's normal to go on stage and do a conference. And then whenever mommy's on stage, there's these little like words and letters that pop up on the screen. And then he won't,
Yeah,
hopefully he won't be scared to do speaking engagements.
and he can see himself, so he's used. I mean, I live stream too, you know that, but I
Right.
live stream, so he's used to seeing himself on the screen. Okay, baby. But
Right.
yeah, I was curious, like, what other, because you said you had a lot of stuff that you were talk about. What other things kind of stood out to you when it comes to this topic? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I also look at um, the like I always figure out like I don't want to push like tech on my kids either. So I'm always trying to figure out how far should I take it, and and I try. So I don't really we don't have a lot of techie things at home. So I really don't like I don't sit in front of a computer all the time and just play video games or any of that nature. So I've been trying to like not like they don't know how to code. Like this is probably the weirdest thing, right? My daughter's 10 and most people would expect that, oh, okay, oh, April, which is the 10-year-old, would know how to code. And no, she doesn't. Now if they come to me and they say, you know what, I'm interested in coding, I'll teach them. But I really want them this hopefully by them being around in an environment, they'll just naturally want to do that because they'll be like, oh, when daddy says then he needs to go solve a problem. I typically see him write a program and then that kind of solves the problem. So I'm hoping that they kind of pick it up. The only thing I've noticed though is that it's been interesting is that kids learn differently. So my son is now he's 6. He's learning to read, but still like putting words together and typing them out is still a challenge. But now YouTube Kids, man, you can press a button and you can say, show me. This is his favorite thing. He'll say, show me all the arcade movies, and and those will come up and he'll see all the arcade movies. So it's like voice is really is like a class is a first class citizen in the new tech economy, or for these kids at least, versus for us, it really was a keyboard, or and at least for me, maybe for you, you're a little bit younger, maybe it was touchscreen. I don't know, but
Yeah, I was gonna say the kids have nowadays they know how to use the touch screen, and that's very interesting to me because I do have stop baby. I do have friends who have kids that are probably around the same age as your kids, and then for them it's like I remember one time me and my sister and her friend were sitting outside and the kids were inside. My sister leaves her phone in the house,
Mhm.
and then I start getting a phone call from my sister's phone, and I'm like, "Why are you calling me?" She's like, "I'm not calling you." We pick it up, and the little girls are like, "Hey, we're hungry," and I'm like, how did y'all get my note? Like they didn't call their mom, they called me from my sister's phone.
Right,
So it's
right.
like touch screen and pictures. So they'll figure out how to go through your messages and see the images that you have saved for a person, and they figure out how to call people like that, or they figure out
Oh,
how to like call people because they might know small words like sis, mom,
right.
stuff like that. So yeah, they literally they're so tiny. One was not even in school yet, and they're calling us from the phone. I was just like, this is mind blowing. So they can, like you said, voice, the pictures and touch screens. I do feel a little bit bad for Justice right now because I'm trying to teach him that not everything is a touch screen
Mhm.
because he like literally any toy he has, he tries to scroll and swipe on it
Right.
because he already knows how to do that with a from using the phone versus anything else. So yeah, but I think that for him, and like you said, it's different. I would like for him to be in STEM programs, just like I would like for him to try anything else, just so he can see what he might be interested in. But I mean, he has to listen to me teach all the time, so I think he kind of he gets a little bit more indoctrinated.
So we put Mac in depth up, and So, in my mind, dubstep to me was like, all right, well, they're gonna be coding, right? But no, they have an explorer program where they're like teaching them like more science skills. I think last week they were talking about asymmetrical objects. So they
Yeah.
used a butterfly to talk about, okay, this thing is asymmetrical. Um, so yeah, I'm getting him in STEM, but just having got him into like the coding stuff, and I'd be interested to see how they adopt, well, how he adopts to that particular adapt to that type of instruction. But anyway, I mean,
Yeah.
we got kind of far off from tech life
It's
balance.
a
I mean, but the thing is that at the end of the day, I mean, for me, it kind of goes to it. It's kind of like how much how much should I
okay, baby.
introduce to my kids around
Right.
tech, and it's like anything else. It's like I don't want them. I want them to be more well balanced
Yeah.
because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, it may become to a point where, you'll just tell the machine what you want to do and it'll just do it. That could be writing code, that could be whatever. And maybe there'll be more jobs around other areas that we just don't know about right now.
Right. I just, I think that it's very nice, like you said, going back to the idea of maybe empowering others, that it's not as cut and dry as it might seem, and I have gotten a lot of feedback, especially when I went to those first 2 events and I had my baby, where some other women would, like, say, "Oh, how empowering it was," or how, like, inspiring it was for them to see me there with my child, and I'm like, "I'm definitely not here to stick out at all," but I just seem to always stick out,
Right.
but it was like, just seeing other people, whether I was uncomfortable or not, it made other people feel comfortable to wanna do that, or feel like maybe next time, they would bring their kid or something like that. So, I feel like that is kinda changing a lot in what I've been seeing recently. So maybe I don't know if it's super localized because we do a lot of stuff in Detroit, but I'm happy to see that the culture around it is a little bit different. And I know, there's definitely the whole other side of it that comes with like how we manage as the actual adults trying to get all this stuff done. But that's a whole nother side of the whole like tech life balance.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, it is a whole nother side. I mean, I think the other, um, I was just sitting here thinking about this is that I wonder, like, we're doing it from an entrepreneurship standpoint. I wonder, what is it like for somebody who's working somewhere, and if they showed up to an event with their baby, like a work event, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? I wonder, what would be the impact there? Would people open it with, would it be with open arms or what? Definitely will love to, hear, so anybody listening to this podcast, put some comments below, what maybe, you have a story, or maybe either a positive or a negative story of maybe bringing your kid to a corporate event. We'd love to hear what the outcome was and what you learned from it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously it's not about like you don't want to be um you want to be self-aware, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
right? So for me, I'm like, a baby is gonna be a baby, but I knew bringing my kid to a specific event, I know what kind of baby I have. Now, if my baby literally screams 24/7, I wouldn't bring him to the event because I already know he's not gonna stop crying. But I
Right.
had, like, a very quiet, chill baby, so I knew that that wasn't necessarily that I was just bringing, an upset infant into the room, but, I saw
You
that
know,
it was
know, know
very
what's know what's funny though? And when you said that, he started walking around.
Hey, little boy. He's so like, he just living his best life.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It was funny because he was like, "I have a quiet baby," and he get out, like, it looked like he got out of his chair and was like, "What you talking about?" And he just started going around looking like he's looking for. Anyway, I'm sorry.
he's trying to get into something right now, but, it kinda it is what it is, like, you wanna let the kids be kids, but we understand who our kids are at the same time, so,
Right.
but it was also interesting because a lot of people will assume when you bring a kid in the room that they're going to get a certain type of experience. And then it was after the fact that people were like, "Oh wow, we didn't even know there was a baby here." Like if you didn't see the stroller, you wouldn't even have known he was there, even though he was watching everybody. Or some people, I'll hear from other people like how they might have heard whispers from someone like, "Oh wow, like she brought her baby," like how they were concerned as if I was gonna like, it was going to diminish their experience and things like that. So it's, you still have people that have those biases or around what should and shouldn't happen. But I think it's like you said, when you work for a certain company or you're in a certain environment, you have to know what the culture is, and how they feel about those things, because you definitely have people that just kind of, they're going to feel how they feel regardless. But it seems like we are at least getting away from, um or people are starting to branch out more, because I had to ask like, "Hey, Tech Town, can I bring my baby for demo day? Can I bring my baby for developer day?"
Right. Right. And Tech Town, shout out to
They're just
Big
like,
Tech
"Why
Town.
wouldn't you? Of course, bring your baby." Like, I'm like, "I'm just
Right. Yeah,
that's
yeah, right,
good, but
right,
I'm
right.
just making sure."
Yeah, I think that's one of the good things about Tech Town, that they're really forward thinking on how they're approaching not just like,
Sir.
everyday life, but also just like, um, just how to actually change, how to support the founders in different ways than most people are thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So yeah,
definitely.
so yes.
So I don't
Hold
know if
on.
maybe
Go
you
ahead.
wanna have a follow-up to this conversation, because I feel like it's a whole, like, it's literally like a whole hour of being like, "How do we actually manage?" Like you said, it's about to get so busy. We have a conference that we're not even a part of today, that's starting this week. And then we just had an event last night for the Hacker House. I'm speaking at a conference next week. And it's like I already knew once this point of October hits, I don't know when it's gonna slow down, because then we'll next thing you know, we'll be going into the Hacker House, then we'll be going into, the conference, and, like, it's gonna be 2025 before we know it, basically. And, I think we managed to we managed to power through a lot. But I've been personally realizing that I can't just power through a lot of stuff, so I've gotten a way more intentional about how I spend my energy and where I spend my energy, because it's so many things that we do and we don't wanna burn out.
I think what you just said was like, again, you've been dropping gems, yo. Like last night was a gem. You were talking through stuff. This is a gem. Like I think hmm, just powering through, right? Just figuring out how to make it. Uh, yeah, I just I don't know, man. There's so many. I don't know. There's so many different. I just want us to like change the dynamic of kids in the workplace and in general. I think what you said about being intentional about what you spend your time on, I
Yeah.
think that's just as important with this whole work life balance. Some stuff you just need to cut out if it's not bringing value. You need to like get rid of it. And if it doesn't, and definitely if it's not bringing you any money, that's just that's me. I'm sorry, that's the capitalist in me. Definitely need to get rid of it because sometimes you gotta like you gotta spend the time to build your revenue streams up so you can get back to doing things that doesn't really pay you money. So sometimes you just gotta kind of narrow the focus down, start generating cash because I mean, I have so many things I'm interested in. So this like, so you hit a hot button with me. So I'm like, I'm all like rejuvenated right now. So now I'm like, it's like there's a lot of stuff I want to do, and I can't do because I have other obligations
Right.
or I have other focus, I have family. So I had me too. I had to kind of start thinking about what are the things that's most critical for me so that I can have like I can survive right now and longevity for our family because these kids get older, they want to eat more, they want to go to college, so you got to be able to like reserve energy for those life events that's going to happen faster than we know it.
Yeah, and I think, let me know if I'm off by this, but I would say we might both be similar in the fact that some of the things that actually re-energizes us are the things that are demanding, right? Like we don't just go out and build stuff because it makes money, but also like we have the that's a part of who we are, right? So people always like, oh, you're so busy, you're a busybody, like like they try to tell me to stop doing things, and I'm like, that does not actually help me. Now I have to strike a balance, but I'm the type of person where it's like I have to be busy. If I'm not busy, nothing's even going to get done. Like if it's not enough stuff on my schedule, I don't even have the motivation to move. So it's like when I'm just in this phase where I'm just like if I didn't have anything to worry about at all, I still would be doing stuff. I wouldn't just be sitting around with my feet kicked up 24 hours a day, because to me that like I still have to go out and do something. So I'm like that balance between being a busybody, being like loving to try new things, learn new things, do new things, and then making sure that there's enough time and gas in the tank to get it all done.
Gas in the tank. You're absolutely right, because I be tired.
You're
But we
running on
gotta
E.
I don't eat, man. I don't eat, but
Yeah.
we gotta make things happen. So this has
Yeah.
been great. Yeah, we can come back and visit this topic again. But I think you already hit on our what do you call that segment where we talk
Oh,
about
shameless plug.
shameless plugs? Yeah, let's get it. Do 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 do. Shameless
I think we
plugs.
kinda
Go ahead.
sort of already talked about it. I don't know if it
Yes.
was on this show with the book. We got everything, so we got a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna drop. So we're working on a book. It's called "Becoming an MVP Software Developer." It's very easy read. No more than 150 pages, and it's really around just helping people um, kind of figure out what they need to build in order to prove out their product, and not build more that won't necessarily help you understand your market. So it's been stuff that Jessica and I have been working on for the last couple of years, and we think that's time for the masses to know, how to, build an MVP that doesn't necessarily need to solve world hunger, right? Just
Right.
something. So that's good. And then, as Jessica said, she's speaking, and she has her podcast. So go ahead, Jessica. When are you speaking? Where are you speaking at? And when's the other podcast?
Yeah, so I was like, let me make sure I know what the heck I'm doing. I have and we're well, we have an event coming up next week called the Interaction Design Detroit Interaction Design Detroit. So I will be speaking there. I posted on Instagram because they posted on Instagram, but they went ahead and made the speaker cards and everything. So I'll share those out so folks can see where I'm going to be. But I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be exciting. It's like design meets community meets like digital or tech or something like that. So for me, I'm doing the importance of coding and community. So I feel like there's a lot of things that crosses over in between those realms, even though we don't necessarily always think about it. Even when I said it to you initially, you're like, wait, coding and community, that's interesting. But coding
Right.
and community is the conference that we run. Coding and community is how Detroit Black Tech was originally a meetup. Coding and community is open source, right? There's all these different avenues. So I definitely want to talk about that and be able to kind of bring that to the audience, and then share that out later. But uh, and I'm always here on Thursdays, so y'all can always find me every Thursday. I'm always talking about something. And then I want to know what you all want to hear about, because we have like it's 4 different shows. So pretty much any topic that you might be interested in can possibly fit in one of those buckets. And we'll be coming up on the end of the year soon. So I'm going to start looking at what like our next year calendar will look like. But I'm excited about all those avenues. Definitely going to share the talk once that becomes available. It should be recorded, so I'll be able to put that up on YouTube. But you can find my all my content metadevgirl.com, and anything that I do on socials actually goes over there. It exists long term. So this month is our open source month. So I'm going to be doing a Git workshop tonight, I think. Yeah. And then we're on all open source stuff for this month. So that's my shameless plug.
I love it. I love it. This is great. So, well, great. This is a great show. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, I think, right next month for this show, and then you'll catch us on TrainX.ai podcast. So I'm good to go. How about you, Jessica?
Yep, I think we're good for this episode. We'll see y'all on the next one. But again, leave us comments. Let us know what y'all want to hear about, and we'll talk to y'all again soon.
All right, take care.